Truck Talk Media.
C10 Talk episode 292. Jason Hallaby, Choice Transmissions. He's our local tranny guy. And I thought, hey, let's do some tranny tech. We start talking trannies around 34 minutes. So the tech part of it around 34. So if you want to get through the getting to know and all the fun stuff at the beginning, jump to about 30 to 34 minutes right there. Today I had the pleasure of sitting down with Frank and Brian from Grindr, and we did the drop. So yours truly will be on the drop coming up. I'll keep you posted. Had a good time sitting down with those guys that came by. We did that in studio here. And again, I will, if you don't follow those guys or check out their pod, do it now. And then I will keep you posted on when the C10 Talk Ronnie episode will drop. I'm assuming maybe like next week, but I'll keep you posted. Here's Jason. Enjoy the show. Hey guys, let me tell you about LMC Truck. Keeping generations on the road. Think about that. It's pretty deep. So whether your truck was handed down or something you went out and bought, odds are you were handed a bunch of paperwork, maybe a folder. In that folder was probably the catalog. You know the one, the most up-to-date and detailed catalog available today. It's like an encyclopedia for our trucks. Their website is just as detailed and informative. lmctruck.com. lmctruck.com. So whether you're restoring old memories or creating new ones, LMC Truck is here to help. They're more than just a parts company. They truly understand the lifestyle and passion of owning a classic truck. So get out there and get to work on your truck and know that LMC is here to help. You can get online, lmctruck.com, and order your free catalog today. Keeping generations on the road. lmctruck.com. What's up? C10 Talk coming at you live from the studio. Episode, I think this is going to be 292, but I've got Jason Hallaby. He is our, he loves it. We're going to do tranny talk. And, you know, Pride Month was June. So we purposely waited to do tranny talk till July. So it's less prideful. And he loves it when I talk tranny talk. So
yes, we got to definitely be politically correct today. So I'll have to watch.
Why do we have to be politically correct? C10 Talk is not politically correct.
I don't want to offend anybody out there. Okay, you know, I've done that enough lately.
I'm going to turn him way down because we were playing around with the audio there. That might be a little too loud. So
I can.
No. I got it. I had you turned up on this end, but yeah, that's good. Okay, so we're not going to be PC, but we're not going to be too crazy. So before we get into transmission talk, I want to do my intro while you're here for this episode. So episode 291 with Jeff Jackson. I wanted to tell you guys a little bit of something here. I usually will reach out to the shop if I'm going to be talking about the shop. I purposely did not want to know which shop it was, and I'm glad that I didn't. But the only problem is, to be fair, I would always like to hear the other side of the story. So what happened after episode 291 went out was I was approached and reached out by the shop and Travis, and he said, hey, that wasn't cool. You kind of said one side and you didn't say the other side. So I said, you're right, and that's not usually how I will conduct myself. I like to get both sides of the story. And I did tell him, after talking to him for 45 minutes, he had some good points, but I said, hey, send me an email, send me a statement, or come on the pod. Then I followed up, and I haven't heard back. So I just want you guys to know that I believe in both sides. Then what I did was I reached out to Rob Lane. He is brought up in the pod with Jeff saying, hey, I was busy and I had Rob go check in on the build. So I reached out to Rob and I said, Rob, give me some insight on this. I've got Jeff's side. I've heard from Travis, and now I want to get your thoughts. And he said, you know what? Your pod was perfect. And the way that it was conducted. He said he didn't have a lot of good to say or a lot of good to say about the shop. So the one thing that he really was like, hey, the invoices were just ridiculous. The storage fees, a lot of miscommunication, but things didn't go as well. I've also heard a lot of feedback from the community about the pod, that they like the pod, that they want to hear more of that. And there's so many lessons learned. And I think it comes down to, Jeff, if you're not going to be the general contractor, you have to have somebody who is the general contractor. If you can't be there and you don't have somebody who can check in, then you almost have to pay more to a shop that you don't have to babysit, and then you'll know. And even the shops that you're paying the high dollar amount, you're still going to need to babysit a little bit. That's just how it goes. I mean, that's the trouble there. So with that, I just wanted to say I've reached out. I've talked to Travis if he wants to come on. There are going to be more of these. I've got a few different situations locally that, that there's shops that builders are not happy with, and we're going to talk about it. It's not always just the builder. It can be the customer, the owner. There's a lot to kind of look at there. So if you've got some insight, please let me know. A lot of really good feedback on that. So before we get into who Jason is from Choice Transmissions, you had a little bit, Jeff talks about that you and Jeff are going to now move on to the next build. You're part of that, and you're here today to talk about transmissions and whatnot. But what's your thoughts on the pod, and what was your involvement?
Yeah,
you got to come in more here.
Sorry. My involvement wasn't much other than just being an ear for Jeff. Jeff's a buddy of mine, and he was telling me the situation for probably about 6-7 months of what was going on. And I kept telling him, get it out of there. Get it out of there. If you're not happy, get it out of there. But the pod, I feel, was spot on. I don't know the shop owner. Mm-hmm. I don't know him at all. I can't speak for him. But as a business owner, you do make mistakes sometimes. And it's not about the mistakes. It's how you handle the mistakes, how you take care of the customer. That's what's important to me. We've messed up in the past. And even with transmissions that are out of warranty, within reason, I will still, step up to the plate and do whatever I can to take care of that situation. So, I think that's really what matters here. And I don't know what this shop owner is going to do. Maybe he's going to try to make it right. I don't know.
No, he's not. But no, they're done, and Jeff wouldn't try to. That's completely separate. I just think that.
But I think the pod was accurate, and if I was the owner, I'd want to step up and give my side of the story if it was a legit story. So yeah.
Okay, let's get into transmission talk. We've got Jason here, and he's a longtime listener, first-time interviewer, friend of the show, lives here in the Valley. He's our go-to for transmissions. How did you tell us who Jason is, and how did you get into transmissions?
Yeah, I was out of high school. I started working at a Ford dealership in California. Started as a gopher and quickly moved up in the ranks and became a service writer at 19 years old over there. And then... that
sounds stressful.
It was fun. I was a kid. I was young. I was dumb, and I knew my job well. I wasn't liked in the garage because when a car was... doing the same thing it came in to be fixed for, I take it back to the tech, say it's not done yet. And they didn't like that coming from a little, an 18, 19-year-old kid. But
sassy pants.
Yeah. So, I was a gopher, became inspector, and then became dispatcher, and then became a service writer at 19 years old. So that was fun. I loved it. Then my family threw a curveball at me and said, we're going to move into Arizona, and we're going to open a family business. So we moved out here in 1989 and opened up a family business, and I ran that business for 10 years. Basically supported being an immigrant from the Middle East. The oldest child always takes care of the whole family, so everything was all the responsibility was on me. So I did that for 10 years. Basically, took care of the family and supported everybody. including my siblings.
That sounds more stressful.
Oh yeah. It was. I was not a kid for very, very long in my life. I was always had responsibility thrown at me at a young age. So
yeah. Do you feel like that has helped you obviously be a better businessman and a pillar in your community because of that?
Yeah, I think that is part of it. The other part of it is my Lord. I'm a Christian, and I try to do what the good book tells me to do. So
that helps you.
That helps out a lot as well. That's kind of
and stress relief.
Yeah.
Okay, so you exit the family business. You get into transmissions.
I had an opportunity to exit the family business and started looking in the newspaper for something, and I found this transmission shop for sale in Scottsdale. It was a franchise, Cottman Transmission, and so I called the number, and the guy said he had sold it already, and I also knew the local owner here in Mesa, so I approaced him.
So meaning that there was a second shop in Mesa?
Yeah, it was a franchise. It was
okay.
I didn't know it was a franchise at the time. I thought it was just a independent shop, but it was a franchise. So talked to that owner, and he said, "I'm the developer for the franchise. I can get you a store out here." So I said, "Great, let's do it." And ended up working for him for probably about a year. And the first 2 months I did it for free because I just wanted to learn the business. I was that motivated to learn the business and not fail. And it took about a year for him to find a location, open it up, and went to training in Philadelphia for 3 weeks, and basically opened up my shop with 0 customers, 0 clientele, new phone number, new location. Sat there twiddling my thumbs for about 6 months, praying that business comes in. Yeah. Was
that the shop in Gilbert?
No, that was a shop in Tempe. It was over there off of University, I think, Mill University. It used to be an old drive-through Wells Fargo that he had built out into a shop. And
that's downtown ASU.
Yeah, right down near ASU, exactly. So opened up that shop and ran it for about a year. And then corporate called me up and said, "Hey, well, there's another shop in Phoenix that we want you to take over. Just go in there and run it for us until we figure out what to do with it." So I said, sure. So I took that store over and had 2 of them now.
So is this like how long after is this that you are now the shop owner or managing a second shop?
About a year.
Okay.
Yeah, it took about a year later.
Why did they pick you?
There was nobody interested in that shop. It was in 7th Street in Hatcher, really.
But did they see something in you that they're like, "Hey, this kid, he's hungry. He's got his shit together."
Yeah, I was pulling some numbers out of there. I was a hustler. I'd go out there and solicit different companies, fleet vehicles, just to try to get the business in. So they saw that, and they needed somebody to babysit this store too. So I think they might have had an opportunity to get somebody in there, as well as me having an opportunity to get in there. So I did, and then I ended up selling the Tempe shop for like $250,000.
Why?
Because I had an opportunity to and pay off all my debt, and I'll still have a shop in Phoenix.
Okay, so you ended up buying or taking over the shop in Phoenix, not just.
I ended up buying it after 3 months. I ended up buying it from corporation with a franchise fee.
Okay.
So bought that place, and then within 2 months moved it to Cave Creek and Cactus into a 8,000 square foot facility. It had 14 bays in it, and turned that place into $1 million a year store. And in the meantime, I took over.
Where were you living at that point? Because that's far.
I was living right by my Gilbert shop on Val Vista and Guadalupe.
Okay, so for obviously we have the audiences all over. Bear with us here. We're going to get into actual more tech here, but just kind of getting the backstory. That's, living Gilbert, we're in a huge valley, Phoenix. That's probably 40 minutes, 30 miles to get up to 7th and Cave Creek.
It was 48 miles from my house, I believe it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was doing easy over 100 miles a day.
Mm-hmm. stuck in traffic.
Oh, shit.
Was that at the point where you had to go up Old Pima Road, or were you on the 101? Was there 101 in existence yet, or was it only Old Pima Road? Probably 101.
No, 101 was there. Yeah, 101 was there.
Because back in the day, it was only Pima.
Right.
And you were stuck.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it got worse because I moved. In the meantime, I had moved to South Gilbert. So now I had to take Riggs Road down to I-10. So that got even further. But
so you got Phoenix, you got Cave Creek.
yeah, and in the meantime, in between all that, I took over Flagstaff for a little while and then flipped that one. So I was actually making more money flipping the stores than I was.
So when you say take it over, you're buying or you're managing?
The franchisee would walk away, basically fail.
Why?
And because they weren't running it right. They were either absentee or they weren't managing it correctly or didn't have the right people there. I mean,
Wow.
crews are important. So
you become a master of managing the people.
yeah, they would every time there's a store that went under, they'd call me and say, "You want to take it over?"
What's the hardest part? I mean, obviously finding the right GM or the right manager.
Yeah, getting the right manager, getting the right builders. I mean, builders are hard to come by, and then waiting that it takes about 6 months to really start building that clientele and getting your advertising going. So the first 6 months was about the hardest part.
Do you find that you going in and being that GM until you find the right GM helps with that? So the guys see that, hey, we've got Jason here. He's managing us. He's fair. He's ethical.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was good at it. I was it was fun for me, and I took care of the customers. So sitting there at the first shop for a year,
Tempe at University of Mill.
University of Mill, living off of credit cards. Barely making my rent at home and barely making my rent at work.
Telling your wife you're going to make it work.
Yeah. Open up it makes you value every single customer that comes in that door. And I have that till this day. I do not forget, because it happened twice to me. This is the first time I'm telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll get to the second time here in a bit, but,
second time what?
That
customer.
I went to a point where I was
Okay.
wiped out. I was broke. I was getting ready to close the doors and go get a job somewhere.
Okay.
So anyway, sold the shop in Tempe. That guy that I sold it to got arrested for DUI a couple of times, and probably ended up having to do a little time in jail.
Okay.
So his mom called me. She goes, "Come take the store. He's done." So I ended up taking it back, and then getting that back on his feet and selling it again, and that got me some breathing room. Now I had some cash flow that I'd paid off all my debts, So, and then focused on the North Phoenix shop, the big 8,000 square foot shop on Cave Creek and Cactus. Turned that into, like I said, $1 million a year store. And then Amco and Cotman merged, and that's when the shit hit the fan.
So were you were Cotman the whole time then?
I was Cotman the whole time, yeah.
And that's like Cottman or something?
Correct.
And is that worldwide? They're everywhere?
It was nationwide.
Okay, nationwide. Yeah.
I think they had a couple in Latin America as well.
Okay, but I did mean, U.S., right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
obviously Amco, you've seen the commercials, they're
Correct.
big, and then Cotman, okay.
Yeah. So Cotman actually ended up buying Amco out.
Wow.
But they decided to keep the Amco name and drop the Cotman name. And we became the redheaded stepchild. So
why? Any Cotman, not Amco, became the redheaded?
Yeah. They we were paying higher fees. They wanted us to change the names, and I couldn't do that because there was an Amco right across the street from me.
Wow.
So they wanted me to move.
And this is the big shop, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not moving. I busted my butt for this place. I'm not moving. So I became the last Cotman in Arizona before I decided to sell it. And so I put it up for sale, found a guy that wanted it, and he didn't care what was the last one in the nation. He was happy with it. Sold that place and opened up my own shop. No franchise, my own independent shop in Gilbert. And that's the place I have today, Choice Transmission.
When you look at the experience of having the support of a nationwide company and then going out on your own, what was your biggest fear?
The support. If I had a problem, I can call corporate. I have corporate to back me. That was my biggest fear. customers, no name recognition. I had to build it from scratch. But we lived in Gilbert. We've been here for years. My wife is my biggest supporter. She's like, we have people here.
Yeah.
Let's open up our own shop. So she really was instrumental of helping me make that decision. So found the location I'm in today 20 years ago. And we've been there about 20 years now.
Wow. Yeah, and that's a great location.
Great
Obviously,
location.
A little hub. And you've branched out from that location as well for a while, correct?
Yeah, I had a couple of different locations for a while, but it was just too much, too much work, too much stress. I'll just focus on one right now, and I'm happy with that.
Do you think that as a business owner, when you have one successful shop, whether it be a transmission shop, mechanic shop, you make more money by having more people, but more people is more headaches. Obviously, you have real estate. Where's the tipping point? Your sanity, your wallet, how does that kind of work out? How does that balance out?
Having 2 shops is harder than having 3 shops. So
why 3's easier?
3's easier because you have more staff and you can lean on.
So is that the breaking point? 3 is good and 2 sucks, and 1 is easy?
In my experience, yes.
All right.
2's always suck.
Well, because kids, when you have 2, you have 1 parent per kid, and then when you go to 3, you're outnumbered.
Right.
So
right. I have 3, but guess what? My oldest one watches my youngest one, so it actually helps.
There you go. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And you have Tim, which, by the way, for the audience, Tim is I guess your GM at Gilbert.
The center manager there.
Yeah, and he runs it, and he does a great job, and he's personable, and every time I'm ever in there, he's always taking care of me. So that's a positive.
Tim and I worked together in the shop 25 years ago.
At what shop?
At the Cottman on Country Club.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow.
So that's how I knew him.
Wow, you've been through a lot of different shops.
Yeah.
In your time.
Yeah. So this is my baby though. This is so we open up this shop. I sell North Phoenix. I open up the shop. New name, new number, new location, 0 customers.
And it was Choice?
Choice Transmission.
And why'd you pick Choice?
It's well, I'm a kind of an older guy, so the word choice back in the day used to be cool.
I think it still is. It's totally Choice.
Yeah, totally Choice. So yeah.
Okay, so you picked Choice. When was the second falling out? Like 08 type stuff?
No. So I opened up the shop, and we sat there for 8 months doing nothing.
Now, if I remember right, there was a network alignment or an alignment place right next door?
Yeah, there's a network alignment. There was a Purcell tire across the parking lot.
A Napa?
There's a Napa, and then some random shop onto my right. It's a complex I was in.
Yeah.
So, and
how do you go about getting business? You have to hustle and go to dealerships, go to shops, and say, hey, if you've got transmissions, we pull them, we do them, we flip them, we smack them.
Yeah.
Just boots on the ground?
Just boots on the ground, advertising. Back in the day, back then we were doing flyers and the money mailers, and the internet wasn't quite there yet. It was just starting out. I just did the same old thing I always did with Cottman. But it wasn't working fast enough. It wasn't producing fast enough. So fast forward 8 months, and I ran out of money. Mm-hmm. I was living off of the money that I had made off the shop. And I made a phone call to Christina, my wife, one day. And I'm like, we have 3 months left. She's like, what do you mean? I said, we have 3 months of funds left before we close this place down. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, So I remember that conversation vividly. I was just sitting there in my office like, what did I do? What did I do? Why did I sell my shop? And I got a phone call from this lady. She kept calling me saying, hey, we're having an event in Las Vegas. It'll help you with your business. And finally, I snapped at her one day. I said, you need to stop calling me. I'm the wrong guy for you. I don't have any money left. I'm about to shut this business down. And she goes, Jason, we are for you. We will help you, and I will pay for your seminars, $300. I'll pay for your seminar. You just get out to Vegas.
What's the story? I mean, some lady just
it was a
you?
Management. It was the company was called Management Success back in the day. I don't think they're around anymore, but because the founder had passed away.
They weren't successful?
No, he had passed away. He'd been there for years.
Okay.
But when he passed away, he was the guy that was kind of spearheading the whole thing. But Anyway, so I called my wife. I said, hey, you want to go to Vegas? This might be the last vacation we take in a long time. And it's a little workshop that I want to go to. So we went out there and attended this workshop. And I learned a lot. And she had to leave early that day, that Sunday. It was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Sunday, Christina left on a plane early to come home. I stayed for the latter end of the seminar. And that afternoon, they had pulled me in and said, do you like the seminar? I said, yeah, I learned a lot. Yeah, I got a lot of notes here. They said, well, this is just a surface. You know, we have a 6-month-long program. It's $10,000. And, we think we can help you out. And my jaw dropped. I'm like, $10,000? I don't have $10,000. So I called Christina. I said, hey, this is the deal. What do you think? She goes, I don't know. I trust you. Whatever you decide, I'm behind you. I said, well, either they're a scam and we lose our money, or they don't do anything and we lose our business, or I give it a shot and we're successful. I mean, those are the only 3 options there is. You know, either it's BS or it's real, or we do nothing and we lose. So she said, then let's do it. So I went back into the meeting and I said, listen, I'll give you $5,000 today and $5,000 in 3 months. That's the best I could do for you. And they said, sounds good. We'll accept that. And that was in early December. January.
Of what year?
Of, 04, I think. It was 04.
Well, that'd be 20 years ago.
Yeah, 04. So,
was there a bunch of other people that were in this conference that
there was about 30 people in this little...
And it was a marketing style conference, not a transmission specific, maybe automotive marketing. What was the context
Their
of the
specialty
seminar?
was transmission specific.
Okay.
But they also had expanded to auto body as well and auto repair, but their focus was transmission. So anyway, January of that year, the very next month was 05, I guess, was our first profitable month.
What did you get for $10,000? What did they do that was so...
What they did was...
Hey guys, are you thinking about swapping out your old motor for a more reliable LSLT-based power plant? Behind each PSI harness, you get over 10 years of experience in the business, online tech support, phone support, and harnesses made in the U.S. That's psiconversion.com. Hey guys, whether you're coming or going, UP Car Parts has you covered, or in this case, has you bumpered. They offer high-quality, premium, heavy stamp steel as original in either chrome or black paintable for the C10 Nation. They have all generations covered and ready to ship today. So when you think bumpers, think UP Car Parts. upcarparts.com.
Need C10 parts? Well, here at Pro, we actually have trucks. We build them, we drive them, and we deal with them every day. It's just part of who we are. We carry the best products for your truck project from the major name brands such as QA1, React, Painless, Dakota, Beltec, Borgeson, Bear, and even more. Give us a call or check us out on the web.
You've heard me talk about my gauges. Dakota Digital. I love them. Dakota Digital has the best gauges for our trucks. These kits are complete with sensors for any engine. They look just like the stock clusters, but have all the technology you'd expect from Dakota Digital. It's like a modern truck, but even better in a classic. Dakota Digital is absolutely the best in aftermarket gauges, so check them out at dakotadigital.com. dakotadigital.com. What did you get for $10,000? What did they do that was so...
What they did was... they forced me to call customers, follow up with them.
Okay.
Every customer that came in, call them a week later. How's it going? Where the franchise was the opposite. They said, don't call them back. Don't open up that can of worms. So
why? They didn't want warranty issues.
Right. They didn't want warranty issues. They didn't want the customers complaining. And now you had to deal with a complaint, So this was the total opposite. So
would you say from the audience is like, okay, let's get into transmissions, but I love the business perspective. From the corporate, do they spend so much money on marketing, they just want to get people in, and then they don't care after that? And you're like, hey, every customer is gold. I got to hang on to this person.
Yeah.
I got to really follow up. The difference between, a big corporation or a franchise versus mom and pop.
Yeah, corporation. They lived off of their royalties, so the bottom dollar, the bottom line is
what you were paying,
right?
Each shop.
So they wanted me to charge as much as possible, so they can. The more I make, the more they make. So, whereas this company was telling you, focus on the customer, give them a fair price. They gave me a formula on how to charge fairly. They made me break down every invoice that I did that week and make sure that falls into that formula. They would, again, force me to call the customer, not force me, but say, you need to call these customers. And they would check up on me saying, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? They asked me to purchase an email list for local customers, and then we email blast them. They asked me to purchase a address list, and I wrote them a letter. We wrote a letter to the customers, hey, we're a new shop in the area, and made it personable. We started a monthly newsletter and mailed it out to our customers. I mean, that was the program, and they just pounded it in me. So, yeah.
And then that January, and then from there you started
we
being
haven't looked
successful.
back from there since, yeah.
And how about 2008, when everything kind of slowed down, the Great Recession? Did you struggle with that?
It didn't affect us. No, it didn't affect us much. When you build enough clientele, there is no slow season, busy season. You have these shops like, we can't wait till summer. We can't wait till summer. That's when all the business comes. And I sit there and back, and I laugh at that. I'm like, you don't need summer to have business. You can have business year round if you take care of your customers, So, so the mentality was completely different. The approach was completely different, and realized I don't need a franchise. Actually, I don't think they helped at all.
Yeah, so much more personable being the mom and pop. Do you find that I always kind of feel like our generation, just a scotch in front of us, they built the Applebee's, they built the big Cotmans, they built these big franchises, and society now almost, this is one thing I might give the millennials the tip of the hat to, is they're really going back to mom and pops. Do you find that? Or
I do. A lot of people want to support local business and want to support the local guy that lives, and then you also want to be part of that community as well. I mean, you want to give them a reason to support you, and you want to support the community as well. So I'm getting pretty involved in the community.
As a mom and pop, you're involved with your church, your family, your kids' schools. Now your kids are older now. Your daughter, what's she in? She going into 10th grade?
My youngest one, yeah.
Okay.
I have a 25-year-old as well.
So you still have kids that are in school, and you find that as a mom and pop, obviously even in our community, you're locally, you're a part of that. Do you find that you really have to be involved in your community from that small business perspective? So with the larger, you might not be as much. You're spending your money for them to kind of take care of you. And as a mom and pop, you're like, hey, Christina, we got to go boots on the ground. We got to get out. We got to be active within our community.
No, I don't feel I have to do it. I want to do it.
Well, both, I feel.
Yeah. I want to do it because I like doing it, number one. I don't feel obligated to do it. But it definitely helps because your name's out there. People know you, and it does help. But
how many employees do you have with one shop now?
6.
6 employees, and now let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bays, I think, with the 2 buildings.
No, 9.
9. Okay, so nine bays. So we
took over a building.
Yeah. So you originally just had the building that I guess would be more to the south, and then you took part of the other building over.
The one random shop was there on a Friday, and then Monday morning we came into work and he was gone. So I called the landlord and said, hey, can I use it for storage? She goes, yeah, just give me $500 a month. I said, sure, no problem. Found out that I was holding myself back because once I told the customer, yeah, we have room for your car, all of a sudden business increased 30%. So then I told the landlord, hey, I need this building. So we got a lease and started buying equipment and equipping it. So, yeah.
Well, and we talked about it before we went on air. Actually, before you even got here, sometimes holding people's cars is not always the best thing because they don't want to come back and get it.
Yeah.
And you're stuck with it.
Yeah.
So there is a balance there.
There's a balance there.
Do you see that more often than you used to when you look at the...
It comes in waves. It's weird because I can go 2 years without having a car, and then all of a sudden I'll have 3 cars abandoned in the shop, and I'm like, okay.
Do you think that your shop car retention is almost a litmus test for the the market for the way that the world is with inflation up, and people are spending $80,000 on vehicles.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying the vehicles that are coming in with transmission issues, but I almost wonder if it's like, yeah, well, the economy's shitty right now, or it's not. I'm just wondering.
I don't know. I haven't gotten that formula figured out yet, Ronnie. Because I tried to do that. I'm like, all right, so let's see here. The CPI is down this month. Is that affecting me? Can I read it before it comes out? I no.
Too hard to tell.
Yeah, too hard to tell.
Okay, so we are at the. This will be perfect. So we're at like the 32-minute mark, and let's get into more of the tech. Let's get into the transmissions, the meat of it. We know who Jason is. He's a great guy, a family man. He's a pillar in his community. He's involved with his church, and he loves the CKN community. So we're lucky to have him. Transmissions. So, when I think of a 60 to 66, you have your little shop truck. I don't think of a lot of automatic transmissions in those early generations, more 3, 4 speeds. When you think about our trucks and you think about automatic transmissions, obviously 350s and 400s, a guy gets a truck, he buys it, he's excited, it's new to him. We're getting to the point now where it's probably let's say it's second or third transmission, who knows. What should a guy do? What should a guy be thinking when you think of those old school 350s, 400s, maintenance, check it out. Hey, I'm so excited. I've got a C10 and I'm going to change my oil because that's something I don't know that if it was done or not.
Yeah.
Should they do rear ends? Should they do transmissions?
Well, that depends on what they have. So I'll give you an example. My 64, when I bought it, it had an old 350 in it with a granny tranny.
Mm-hmm.
4-speed. First gear was like a granny gear.
Yeah.
First thing I did was rip that thing out, put a 700 behind there. So now I have automatic overdrive.
And we're going to get into it, but a 700 R4 does okay behind a 350.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll do good. You're looking for that automatic, and you're looking for the overdrive aspect of it, so you can get on the freeway and cruise at 75 miles an hour and not be revving up at 4,000 RPMs.
And when you do that, one thing about General Motors, correct me if I'm wrong here, you're the specialist, but you're the professional, it bolts right up, right?
Yeah.
All GM transmissions will bolt right up.
90% of them will bolt right up.
It's an amazing thing. But a 700 R4 is longer, so you have to get a new drive shaft made. Correct?
Yeah, you've got to lengthen or shorten your drive shaft depending on what you have, and you got to move the cross member. You have to add on a 700. It's got a detent cable, which is also called a throttle cable. You got to add that on there, and that's the downfall of 700s. If you don't adjust that properly, you're going to burn that thing up in 2-3 miles down the road. So they're finicky. They're good, but they're finicky.
What do you find is the biggest situation where, from a column, did you go to a shifter on the floor? Is that always going to be the easiest? Because when you go to a column, what did you do in your 64?
Mine, the shifter was on the floor. It was a manual, so I just kept it on the floor. Yeah,
okay. B&M or something right there? Just roll
I
through?
did a low car.
Okay.
Yeah, low car shifter.
Yeah, and for the audience, the B&M's more of a shorter drag race style.
Yeah, more like
low cars looks like a shifter, and you push the button in, and you can roll through the gears, and it looks great.
Yeah, it's
and it's
classic. It's a classic look,
and it's cheaper than buying a new column.
I don't know. Oh, new column. Yeah. Not cheaper than a B&M.
No. Yeah. Well, low car, those are pretty pricey.
They are pricey,
but they look great. And if you already had a stick and on the floor, then some guys, if they wanted to go to a column shifter, but if you're not going, then just put it on the floor. Okay.
Yeah, you can easily get a different column and swap it out. So yeah, linkage is another thing. You can take care of the linkage, do the linkage. But that's a 700. Now, if you have a 350 and you want overdrive, you can still put a 700 in there. If you have a 400, usually those are behind a 454
or a 396.
Yeah. So do you want a 700 behind there?
Not.
So that's something you want to be careful with.
So for the audience, everything I've ever read, and get your input on this, because I like the tech part of this, is a 700 is going to fail behind that torque.
It's just a little weaker. It's weaker than a.
And a 700 is a 350 with overdrive, correct?
Correct. That's correct. Okay. And a 4L80 is a 400 with overdrive.
Yeah. Well, a 4L60 is going to be your
700 electronics.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. But now, what about a 200 4R? A lot of those guys that are thinking about overdrive will also put those in.
Yeah, those are similar to the 700s. The gearing's a little different. Their gearing is a little taller, so it shifts a little later. So they use those for they came into the Grand Nationals.
Yeah, a lot of cars,
a lot of
G
people use them,
bodies.
yeah, for drag racing, so it doesn't have that torque.
The lower end.
The lower end. So that's the difference between 700 200. They're a little different, but very similar as well.
How many 700s have you rebuilt or had rebuilt? I mean, is it the most rebuilt transmission that's come through your shop? GM?
Yeah, GM. It was now probably 4L60.
Sure.
Because there's more of them out there than 700s.
The younger brother.
Yeah.
Right? The evolution is 350, 700, 4L60.
Correct.
Right? Okay. Yeah. What about gear vendor? When you think about the big block and you're talking about a 400 being behind, a work truck, a 3/4 ton, a 1 ton, back in our first, when you think about what came with the truck, sometimes people, for example, Yellowstone, my 73, I put a 4L80 behind it, big block. And with Orange Slice, I've been like, man, should I put a gear vendor behind it?
Right. Have you priced them out?
Well, everything's expensive.
Right. So
what's better though?
And if I would do a 4L80 before I do a gear vendor.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are.
Yeah, because all you're doing is slapping off another transmission back there, and now you've got more parts that can fail.
But with a 4L80, you have to have a transmission controller, and that's going to cost you more money on top, unless you can find a hydraulic 4L80. Which, I mean, are they even? Do you come across those very often? Which is going to be an early generation 4L80.
Yeah, they're getting harder and harder to find.
Oh my God,
they really are. And when you do find them, the cores are ridiculously expensive. I'm building one right now for a local shop, and
give me an idea. What's it cost?
The core cost me $700.
Okay,
just the core alone. They didn't even build it yet. So
$2,500 for an old school hydraulic 4L80 if you can find it and after it's built. Or is it going to be more?
Probably a little more.
Okay.
If you want to build it right, yeah.
Yeah. So just under $3,000.
So that's what a gear vendor costs.
Wow. Yeah.
But now you've got more parts that can fail later. That's the kind of, you have not only your 400, but you got the gear vendor behind it with more seals and gaskets and hydraulic fluids. So
you're saying that a 400 with a gear vendor has more parts that will fail later. Because you're adding more to it.
You're adding more to it. Now you've got basically two transmissions back there.
Okay.
You've got your gear vendor side of it, and you've got your transmission that's attached to it. So you just weigh your options. Do I want to spend it now? Do I want to spend it later? Or
so your recommendation is 4L80. Don't screw around with a gear vendor. And whether you...
And it's a good product, by the way. I'm not dogging gear vendor. They're good products.
Sounds like you're ripping on them. No. I mean, it sounds like you're saying they're shit.
No, they're not.
That's what I'm hearing.
They're just expensive. That's what I'm saying.
Well, they're expensive because they are a good product, right? I mean, anything is... You're going to get what you pay for. So, I'm joking with him. Let's say Turbo 400s. There was a time, and I don't think that we're not still in that time, but Turbo 400s were very sought after. They're very strong.
Oh yeah,
are they still really just kicking ass, or are people making that step to the 4L80?
No, if the guy does not mind the freeway issue, Turbo 400s are great.
Yeah,
I mean they are a workhorse. I've taken those apart that ran, and there were literally broken parts inside it, and they still moved. It's like, holy shit, how does that happen? How does a plate be broken in half, but this vehicle drove in here? So. They are definitely a
strong transmission.
Awesome transmission.
And that's what I have in Orange Slice. And for the audience, when I'm driving with these guys, like say we went to Rio Doso, I mean, I'm 31 to 3,300 RPMs. And Orange Slice is geared different than Yellowstone because Yellowstone was 373. I think Orange Slice is maybe like a 354 or something because it's not quite as tacked out. But yeah, the 400 is tough. These trucks, when they built these trucks, they weren't thinking they were going to go 75 miles an hour. They were going to go 55 to 65, 68.
Was that speed limit back then?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Sammy Hagar has a really good song out about that where they changed that and they made that speed limit 55 and I think they went from 65 down to 55 because they were trying to for fuel and whatnot. But either way, 65 is, it does well at 65. It just doesn't do well at 75 or, I can get it to 80, but it's just ripping. And then my heat
I have the same truck at home.
And my heat gets way hot. And I get hot. It gets hot.
Yeah.
It just likes to heat up. So 400s are still great. you're not endorsing by any means skier vendors. Joking again. He's giving me the look. 700 R4s. So what about maintenance? What are you thinking here? So they get it home. Should they do a quick maintenance on it?
That depends on the history. Again, if
you don't know the history, if you don't know it.
If you don't know it, you bring it into me and then let me look at your fluid. If the fluid is black and smells bad, you're already beyond servicing. It's already has problems. You just don't know it yet. And doing a service on it is going to accelerate those problems.
Why? I remember you saying that once with my 4L60, my daughter's Tahoe.
So
my buddy, I have to tell the audience this story just because you stopped me. My buddy, original owner of a Tahoe, I get it 232,000 miles. And I know he's towed little trailers all around with his little family. And I go, hey, it's my daughter's car. When's the last time you had the transmission serviced? He's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, okay, you changed the oil. Did you ever have the transmission serviced? No, I've never had the transmission serviced. All right. I'm like, shit. Take it to Jason. And he's like, hey, let me pull the pan. Let me look at the fluid. Let me go through it. And it's still running. But you were like, we have to be careful because when we throw new fluid in, it's a detergent.
Correct.
So take it from there.
Yeah. So if the transmission fluid is there for 3 reasons: hydraulic pressure to lubricate and keep your transmission running cool. If the fluid burns, it doesn't keep your transmission running cool anymore because it loses its ability to absorb the heat and transfer it to your cooler. So your clutches start burning up and they start getting oxidized and varnished. And you do a service on it, the fluid is a detergent and it'll just clean that varnish right off your clutches and melt it away. And then you'll stop moving or start slipping right away. It's like maybe taking a piece of cardboard and burning it with a lighter and then taking your hand and rubbing it and it just melts away the cardboard. That's kind of the same concept with the clutches. Clutch material is just very thin. So that's why we want to be careful doing a service on a vehicle that has high mileage that's never been serviced. But if you service it every year or two or every 30 or 40,000 miles, you shouldn't have that problem.
So one of the ways, if you're an at-home guy and you're going to drop your transmission pan on a 350 or 400, because there's really no other way, which sucks. I know you could put a bung hole up in there and you can get a, whether it's a B&M or I forget the one company that's got little fins and you put it up in there and you've got a little port, but Magatech or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I can't remember.
There's a bunch of different ones.
But you know when it's burnt and it smells and it's dark. And
you'll smell it burnt. I mean, you take it and sniff it. You want to use your senses when it comes.
I guess you could even just use your dipstick, right? I just don't feel like you get quite the same level. So you're saying, hey, at 25 to 30,000, you should do a complete transmission fluid.
At least a drain and fill if you're not doing the filter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you not do the filter?
So you bought a C10, and it either had AC at one time or it wasn't even an option. Well, Vintage Air has the solution for you. Their SureFit kits are designed to place the evaporator and hoses behind the dash for a factory clean look. The Vintage Air SureFit kits are the best value and the most completely engineered air conditioning system you can install in your C10. Damn, son, the choice is obvious. VintageAir.com.
Classic Performance Products, CPP back. Joe, let's talk X10 spindles. Go.
One of our most popular parts through the years has been our 2.5-inch drop modular spindles. Really popular part. Well, we've kind of taken that to the next step. We've emulated late model Corvette, Silverado, Chevy technology into our new X10 drop spindles. They use a steel hub, sealed bearing hub, really strong piece. It's oversized bearings. Definitely great for a guy using big brakes, big wheels, which I'm sure all your guys are.
You need a new spindle anyways. You're going to lower your truck. You're running a bigger wheel, a bigger brake. CPP's got it for you with their new X10 spindle. Joe, as always, thank you. CPP, classicperform.com. It's classicperform.com.
Sniper 2. Are you ready to switch out that old carb for a modern EFI system? Well, Holley has a solution for you. The all-new Sniper 2. This new system was redesigned from the ground up. Available in tumbled polished or black powder coat, and there's 3 available tuning interfaces. A classic 3.5 handheld, a 5-inch mountable, which includes a GPS speedo or a Bluetooth module so you can use your smartphone. Another big bonus is the Sniper 2 has a built-in transmission control module. So if you're looking to upgrade to a 4-speed overdrive, 4L60, 4L80, you now can with ease. Holley.com to get started today, Holley.com.
Marquet has been in business for over 40 years. It all started in the original owner's garage. From humble beginnings of a couple parts in a garage to a 2-building manufacturing facility making over 6,000 parts, Marquet has grown to be one of the country's premier truck parts manufacturers. They have made their original parts from the original trucks. All parts are manufactured in-house in Oklahoma City, USA. They offer quality parts built by Americans for old American-made trucks. So when you're looking for body moldings, bed strips, bedwood, and so much more, think Marquet. That's mar-k.com.
So you're saying, hey, at 25 to 30,000, you should do a complete transmission fluid.
At least a drain and fill if you're not doing the filter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you not do the filter? If you're already there,
If you have a drain plug in your
Okay.
in your pan, you could do the filter, every 60,000 miles instead of every 30.
Okay.
Just as a convenience. You don't have to. The filter, the only reason the filter is there is just to filter out some of the normal wear and tear. You shouldn't have metal in there, just normal wear and tear, nothing else. If you have chunks of metal in there, then you've got problems. If your fluid is really badly burnt, you've got problems. So you may not feel them, but it's happening. It's going to happen.
what about torque converters?
So, you know what? What's your question about torque converters?
Well, what do you think about the perspective of a guy wanting to change some shifts up to if there's any service they should be done? Obviously, it's running smooth.
Yeah.
They get it. My thing is for the audience, if they get a truck, if they want to upgrade, what are the things that you see that come through your shop that people are screwing up that they can leave it alone? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Torque converters are important, especially some of the newer vehicles. The Ford 10 speeds.
Mm-hmm. Well, GM and Ford, right? They share. Then
those torque converters are known to have problems. They go out, they start putting metal through the system, and it wipes out your pump. So I think they both have a lawsuit going on right now.
From
GM, just the
Gen
class
Pop?
action
Okay.
class action going on with the Ford and the 10 speed on the 8 speed on the Chevy side and the 10 speed on the Ford side. But
You're
what happens?
confusing me, honestly. So I know that GM has a lot of problems with their 8-speed, but GM and Ford are both on the 10-speed, right? It's the same exact transmission behind the new trucks, is what
I haven't seen the GM ones. I've seen the Ford ones.
Okay.
I've seen many Ford ones. The
Okay.
GMs, I don't know why, but
Yeah.
I've not seen any GM 10 speeds yet. But I've done like 6 Ford ones in the last 2 months, and it's always the same problem.
2 guys from work just came in to see you. One guy, he got to see you in time before it went bad, and one guy, I think it's his wife, his wife's Tahoe. It was too bad. I mean, he was into it like $8,000 or something. What's the problem with these newer vehicles? What's happening?
It depends. Again, was it the 8-speed or 6-speed you had?
I think
I can't remember.
Well, they're newer Tahoes, so
Yeah.
probably 8s.
8-speed. The 8-speed has a valve body problem.
Okay.
It's a known issue, and the valve body alone is like, my cost on it is $1,400.
Yeah, I think his bill was $65,000 to $8,000. It was
Yeah,
right in there. He
yeah.
was crying all about it, and I said, "Well, Jason, I don't know what to tell you. 'Cause
Yeah.
he's going to take care of you."
There's upgrades and updates on those that we implement. We do aftermarket and OE combination. Some of the aftermarket world corrects some of the OE problems.
Sure.
Especially a company called Sonics. They're excellent.
Is there anything that, let's say, somebody out there has an 8-speed, mama's car, maybe they're driving? Is there anything they can do to help prevent some of that?
No, that's just a flaw in the design. Period. And same thing on the Fords, the torque converters. The way they're designed, they're not flat anymore. They're angled. The clutches inside the torque converter, and then the converter will warp a little bit and start burning up the clutches, which goes metal to metal, and then it goes into the pump and damages up your pump. So to fix that problem, or alleviate that problem, we get a billet cover converter that will not warp anymore. So that's what was wondering if you were asking about converters. There are upgrades on converters that are necessary on some of these vehicles.
I'm thinking more of old school stuff. So no,
Yeah,
I wasn't
yeah.
really thinking that. I think just guys, wanting to they
Change of
can't
fluid.
leave things alone. They get in there, more maintenance, more just, hey, upgradability. And okay, like you said, I got rid of my 4-speed, shift 4 on the floor. Now I want to upgrade. Okay, now I'm going to 700R4. Should I? Some guys will just buy it used and throw it in, and then they find out. Should they? If they want to upgrade, find your local transmission shop. Let them go through it, because you're going to spend all the time to go through, put that transmission in. You might as well just, when it's out, because it's always cheaper to bring it to you when it's out versus when it's in.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. There's some labor that's
Yeah.
saved there. Sure.
So let's say I want to go to an overdrive transmission. Let's start with 700R4. I find one, I bring it into you, and I am told that it's in great working condition. I bring it to you. What are you guys going to do with it? I want you to service it. Hey, Jason, I'm going to put this in one of my trucks. Go through this.
Yeah, I would ask you to let me go through it, because I don't want to put a transmission in there that somebody says is good and then have issues with it. So I'll get your permission to go through it, open it up. Anything wore out or damaged or not within specs, we replace. Torque converter, not much upgrades on those. Your options are limited on those unless you go to a high stall speed, but you only do that if you start
racing.
camming out your engine. Yeah. So, and then we install it and make whatever adjustments you need to make to make it happen. Again, we measure the drive after it's installed. We have to move the
Let's
cross
say
member.
the guys, the C10 Nation, they're pretty handy at this point. They're going to do it. What are you going to do to that 700 to get it ready? I mean, are we looking at $200 to go through it? Obviously, everything is going to depend on what you find, but a general maintenance before install.
We would have to take it apart to look inside of it.
Okay, so what is that going to cost?
Say about $500 in labor.
Okay,
Plus-
$500.
plus whatever parts you need.
Okay, so
Minimum a seal and gasket kit.
Okay.
Because
So
I can't reuse your old seals and gaskets.
Okay, so you go through, everything looks good, seal and gasket kit and labor.
Yeah.
Without putting it in, you're looking at $500
Labor only.
plus parts.
Yeah. So $900 approximately. If we have to redo the converter, another $300. So
that's 4 hours of labor.
it's about 4.5 to 5 hours of labor. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they know. So hey, if I buy this overdrive transmission, so now I want a 4L80. How much? I find a core. I want you to build me a 4L80. How much?
Yeah. It could be a $2,500 build. It could be a $4,000 build. It really depends on what is going in it. I'm doing one right now. Like I said, it's a $4,200 4L80 because the converter alone was $1,400.
Okay.
It's a multi-disc billet 3100 stall speed converter.
What about I find a two-wheel drive and I want you to convert it to four-wheel drive?
The transmission only?
Yeah,
the
yeah.
transmission itself, that's not hard to do. I just got to
Change out the output shaft.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. And then find the extension housing.
But labor, like,
Same as the two-wheel drive.
Okay. What about what's your favorite transmission controller? So for the audience, if you've got an electronic transmission and you've got analog motor, carburetor, they need to talk. What do you suggest? Do you suggest, because the problem is if you go to like a
beyond
Holly
my wheelhouse.
Sniper 2,
I don't do that.
No, not okay. Have you used transmission controllers?
I have not installed transmission
Okay.
controllers. I will build the transmission. I'll do swaps, and then I stop there, and then they need to go somewhere to put
Yeah.
their controller in.
Yeah, they need to go to Bowman or somebody else, obviously
Yeah.
a mechanic.
Yeah.
So what happens is, for the audience, if you do that, their Holly Sniper 2 has it,
Holly
their
has
Terminator
one.
has it. They have a standalone that you can buy.
Or you buy a stock one from
GM.
a junkyard. You can go pull one out of a junkyard and put it in, depending on the year, make, and model. But it depends on what you want as a consumer. But I don't get into that side of it, though.
Yeah.
That's just...
So much of your business is hard because it's enclosed and you don't know until you open it up.
That's correct.
And then you
That's
open up that can of worms.
That's one thing. The other thing is, 25 years ago, there was only a handful of transmissions and transfer cases. Now you got hundreds and hundreds of them, so...
Well,
Yeah.
that's a great point. As you evolved for 25 years, everything was mechanical, it was analog. Now you have more transmissions and more computers.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you find that breakdown where when you're suggesting something to the audience and you're like, hey, 700 R4. You don't have to, depending on what it's behind. Well, what about this? A 4L60. Everybody says they're weak. I feel like I've heard you say that they're not that weak if they're built right. Do you go 4L60 or do you go 4L80? You're already making the decision to go electronic and go overdrive.
Yeah.
Do you throw more money after a 4L60 to rebuild it, or do you just try to find a 4L80 that hasn't really been rebuilt and supposedly had only 85,000 miles on it?
Right. That depends on what you're running as an engine. If you're running a 6.2 supercharged engine cammed out, and you're going to beat the shit out of it, you might want to go maybe even a 6L90. Those are big, heavy duty transmissions. That's what Bowman has in his. I built that for him, and he hasn't broken it yet.
Yeah.
And you see what he drives, how he drives that thing. 4L80s are strong, but they'll also break. And so will 4L60s, and they're geared differently too. I had a buddy called me the other day, and he has a 5.3 in his and a 4L60, and he was thinking about putting a 4L80 in there. I'm like, there's no need for that.
Yeah.
5.3 is perfect for a 4L60. And the 60s are geared a little bit different. They have a little better gearing on takeoff, where 4L80 has a little higher gearing, so you feel like you lost horsepower when you take off.
So the first gear is a little lower, so you got a little more punch with the 4L60.
Correct.
Okay, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where the 4L80, you feel like I just lost some horsepower at this thing because the gearing's different. It's just a little longer of a shift before it shifts into second. So you don't want that behind a 5.3.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's what I think's funny is a 350. Okay, somebody's running their 1978 Chevrolet 350. The horsepower is like 185. And we're sitting over here and you buy a 5.3, you buy a 6.0. You're not you could put a 700 behind an old 350. You're not going to kill it because
Corvettes had them.
Yeah. Well,
the old 85, 86, 87 Corvettes had them.
Yeah, but those were weak motors too because of gas and the way they were. I just think that we're under 200 horsepower stock, and I can't quote torque either, but it can handle it. And I think we get into the world. I get that 5.3, 6.0, 6.2, it's all better, and 4L80 and on up, but it really depends on what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
What your goal is, what you're doing. Are you trailering? Are you pulling? What are you doing, and how's your truck built?
Correct. But yeah, they can handle it. I've got 4L60s behind 500 horsepower right now. They're fine.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And they're built though.
They're built.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what's it cost to build a 4L60 to be behind a 400 or 500 horsepower?
Without a core, if they have their own.
No core.
No core. I build it to a 4L65, which changes the pinions inside from 3 pinion to a 4 pinion steel instead of 3 pinion aluminum. So it can handle a little better overdrive. 32.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bench job.
That's
a bench job.
Okay, that's not installed.
No, not installed.
Okay, bench job. Okay, so let's see more questions on transmissions and tech. What about gearing and gearing ratios and the rear end and what are you thinking about that? What's a great ratio for a C10?
If you put a higher ratio in there to get higher speed, you're gonna obviously kill your lower end. Mm-hmm. So I always say don't mess with the rear end and just get an overdrive transmission if you're worried about highway speed. That's the only reason you do that, right? Is it to get a better highway speed?
Okay.
Yeah. So I wouldn't mess with the rear end. Just get an overdrive, whether you want a 700 or 4L60 or 4L80. Just do that. It's just, I know it costs a little more, but it's the better way to go.
Filter wise for transmission and transmission maintenance and fluid, do you have a recommendation that you're like, hey, I only run this. These are my favorite filters.
No, they're all the same.
These are the best for the buck. They're all made at the same
They're
plant.
all the same, yeah. It's not even the filter issue. It's more of the gasket issue. You've got some of the neoprene gaskets that don't work on the old 350s and 400s. They'll always leak. Then you have the cork gaskets that are pretty good, but they get crushed easily, so then they start leaking. So we try to use the cork and a little bit of RTV on there, yeah.
And I think I've even had it where I gave you a gasket and you said I don't even need it. I'm just going to use RTV.
Yeah. Sometimes we just use that, yeah. Because those old ones, man, they're just they don't seal the machine work back in the day. I think really sucked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, it is, I to have a old truck that you drive a decent amount and not to have some transmission fluid on the garage floor is foreign to me personally.
yeah. When we deliver a vehicle, we always let them know that we'd like to see you back in 7 to 10 days, just so we could check for leaks.
They'll shake down.
Yeah, always. 200
Are you
miles.
just retorquing the pan bolts?
We don't retorque anything. We just look in there. If it's leaking, we deal with it. If it's not leaking, we tell them we're good. So we check the fluid level, condition of the fluid, and check for leaks.
Okay.
And we tell that for everybody. About half of the customers actually listen to us come back. They don't.
Oh, yeah. Well, they get busy.
Yeah.
What about fluid? Do you have a fluid that you endorse or really like from a transmission fluid that you've always had?
It's specs. We got to follow specs. Fluids.
Well, what
Dexron,
about
Mercon.
C10 community? They don't care about specs. They want
You have
Royal
to have
Purple,
specs.
AMSOIL.
No.
I mean, they're all within spec.
Yeah, well, that's the most important thing is specs at the end of the day.
But let's say Napa, generic Napa versus some $60 a bottle. I mean,
Yeah.
do you have an additive that you like? Do you have?
There's an additive called Lube Guard that always helps condition the transmission. I don't know that Napa or AutoZone sell it. That's sold just to transmission shops.
Lube Guard.
Yeah, Lube Guard.
All right.
It's a platinum Lube Guard. And again, there's red, black, platinum. Each one is for a different type of transmission. You got to, if you want to be on the safe side, always get the platinum one that covers all of them.
Amazon has it right here. So
Yeah.
Amazon Lube Guard ATF supplement 61910, $13. So you can get
Is
it on
that for one bottle?
Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They're
you
not
can
cheap.
get it right here. There's a bunch of different styles here. So
Yeah, the platinum one is the best one to get.
okay, Protected Platinum for platinum is $33.
Yeah.
On Amazon as well. I'm just going quick here. Okay, so Lube Guard.
Lube Guard.
And
then
add that.
if you really want to get fancy with your fluid, mobile one is the best. As a matter of fact, there's a technical service bulletin on the Chevy 8-speed saying that the fluid does not meet standards. The fluid that it came with from the factory does not meet standards, and the replacement is the blue Mobile One fluid that actually meets the standards. So if you have an 8-speed out there that's shuddering or shifting funny, go get the blue Mobile One transmission fluid. It's a blue bottle, and change all your fluid, and there's a 90% chance that it'll fix that problem.
Okay. Yeah, I run that in my Duramax. That's what it wants for the transfer case.
Yeah.
That's what it recommends, to add a bottle of the Mobile One full synthetic. So
Yeah. Kevin Bowman's truck was fixed.
oh, because
by
of that.
Yeah. All it took was a service, $200 service, fixed it.
Put some Mobile One in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else to add for Choice Transmissions? Obviously, if you're local in Phoenix, Jason's our guy. We recommend him. He gets the stamp of approval. And bottom line is, if you can't fix the first time, he will take care of you. He will work through it and obviously take care of the C10 community. We talked about, how about this? You're building a truck. Give me your drivetrain. What would you recommend with all of your experience?
Okay, so I am building a truck with Jeff.
Yeah, you guys
we
talked
never
a little bit
didn't
about that.
touch about that. So I went and bought that truck from Jeremy over at Tray 5, and it's sitting in my backyard. And then Jeff's whole thing took place. So he goes, "Hey, how about we build this truck together? I've got parts on mine that we could put on this one." And I said, "Yeah," and I've got a 5.3 and a 4L60. So obviously that's the cheaper version instead of going the 6.2 with a 6-speed. So what I recommend, I think that's plenty. 5.3, you can do a little cam with a 4L60 behind it, and man, that'll get you plenty of horsepower. And
Are you doing anything to that 4L60 though? Since you are the transmission shop.
I'm gonna build it into a 4L65, and I'm gonna put a 3,000 stall speed converter behind it.
That's
I'm
what I
gonna
want to
cam
know
out the
right
engine.
there. Okay. Slight cam, 5.3.
No, wicked cam.
Oh, wicked
No slight,
cam.
Yeah.
Okay, how many horse are you trying to get out of this 5.3?
About 450 to the rear tires.
Okay.
Rear tires is my goal.
Okay, so 5.3, wicked cam, little horsepower, decent
Yeah.
torque, and then you're going to build your transmission to a 4L65
Yeah.
by doing all your upgrades and making sure the sun shell is very happy and strong.
Yeah.
And what does that cost again for a built choice 4L65 with core?
What cost me?
No,
Nothing.
no,
I'm just
no.
kidding.
Would cost the guy that's listening to the pod that wants a 4L65, and he goes into his transmission shop in Illinois, and he's like, I heard on C10 Talk that Choice
This
can
guy.
build it for this.
Yeah. About 32
And that's with
with a core.
a core.
Yeah, if I buy the core. If you don't buy a core, that's probably take off another $300.
Okay. Yeah. So
28.
without a core, with the core.
Yeah.
Either way, budget $3,000 for the
Yeah.
built 4L65, depending on your area.
Yeah.
And you've got a runner.
Yeah, and we're gonna bag it as well.
You're going to bag it,
Yeah.
and it's going to have a GM 12 bolt in the rear, and you're going to be geared. You don't know yet.
Don't know about the gear yet. Don't know anything about the rear end. I'm gonna hit up Kyle to shorten my bed for me.
Yep, metallocks.com.
Yeah.
They'll take
Shout
care
out
of
to
you.
Kyle
And we're lucky, obviously, in the valley. We've got an engine builder, a transmission builder, and you guys do in your local area too. You just got to find them. So
Yeah.
you just got to find them. Okay. What about parts? Does that help you out if the C10 community reaches out and says, "Hey, I want to buy some parts from Choice"? Do you offer some parts for somebody who wants to delve in and maybe play around with this that isn't local?
Yeah. If anybody wants parts, we can get them. They can source them anywhere they want. But if somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I need this, I need that," I'll order it for them. It's not a problem. Yeah.
Okay. So follow you on social media. Obviously, Choice Transmissions is
AZ.
your
Choice
AZ.
Transmission AZ on Instagram.
Okay. And that's the best way.
That is the best way. Yeah, I have a what is it?
Facebook?
Facebook account. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get on that very often.
Yeah. The business you paid $10,000 said you should get more on that. Even though they're out of business,
Yeah.
they want you to be on your Facebook account more often.
Yeah.
Yeah. So IG is the place to be. That kind of rhymes. IG is the place to be.
You're like a songwriter.
No, that's from Green Acres. I'm not going to take credit for that. Okay. Remember, you can get a hold of him, Jason at Choice Transmission AZ. It's not Pride Month. We're not politically correct, but he is our tranny guy. And we're getting ready to go to the slowdown. Are you trailering or are you driving?
Trailer.
Trailering.
Yeah.
And that's because you're not taking the
my-
Burb? You're taking the...
No, I want to take my 64. I'm doing a middle of a swap right now. He should be ready in a week.
Motor swap or transmission swap?
Both. I'm doing
Oh.
a LS with a 4L60 behind it as well.
Oh,
And,
not a 4L65. You
65.
kinda just lied to us.
65. It's just easier to say 60.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
you know.
Okay, so you are actually doing that right now on
Oh,
the
yeah.
64. The shop,
Yeah.
that's his shop truck.
It's already in, and I think it'll be driving next week.
Was the 5.3 built or was it stock?
No, it's built. So Junior over there at 8A Garage, shout out Junior at 8A Garage. He built my engine, and he's doing my swap for me. He's doing everything for me. Yeah,
Good.
Digital
Junior
gauges.
Junior at 8A.
yeah.
All right. I don't know that I know Junior. I haven't met him. So Junior at 8A Garage.
Yeah.
We'll check him out on
He's a
IG.
neighbor of mine. He lives 2 streets down from me. He works out of his house over there. He's got a shop behind his house, and a great guy. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm excited.
And is he going to be involved with the Jeff Jackson? I got to come up with a name with this build. The Jeff and Jason build?
I don't know.
The
I'll let you know.
Redemption build?
We could call it that.
Yeah, you
We
could
can
call it the
yeah.
Redemption. You guys could go to church
We
on
can call it the
Sunday
reunion
and,
build.
and then work
We
on
can call it
it.
the reunion build.
No. You're missing the point. Redemption.
I
is-
got the point. All
All right. I'm going to take him out. We are headed to the slowdown in a few weeks. That's going to be January 26th and 27th. It's a 2-day show. We're headed out. And then for us, the intervention's coming up. You've got the C10s in the trailer park, which is going to be in Waxahachie. What else? There's the Triple Crown is coming up. That's in Nashville. That's in September.
Dino's. Don't forget Dino's coming
No,
up.
I go in order. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
Hold on.
No, we just got to go straight to Dino's,
Hey,
baby.
you rebuild transmissions. I'll go in order.
Dino!
And then we got, I might have to edit that one. That one pegged. And then we've got the Grand National Truck Show at the Pomona in Cali. And then obviously the Granddaddy at the end of the year. The final takeout is going to be Dino's. I'm hoping I can have the K25, which I'm calling the Big Sky 25, have that truck done finally now that I'm getting back to it. But in studio, we've got Jason. Again, great guy who takes care of us here locally. If he can help you out, very actively involved here in our community. I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate what you do and all the support for the reunion and everything that we have going on here in our community. Choice Transmission, Jason Hallaby.
Thanks,
you,
Ron.
brother.
Appreciate it, man.
Okay. Thanks again for tuning in. Episode 292 with Jason Hallaby. We are off to Slowdown. If you're out there, I hope I can run into you, chat, check out your truck. Safe travels to everybody. Again, thanks for tuning in. If you didn't get a chance to check out episode 291, it's a good one. It kind of really goes a little deeper when you think of the perspective of everything didn't go the way that somebody thought it would from the build. And I did talk to the shop owner as well, and you're getting two different sides of the story. It's been a popular one. Check it out, 291. Thanks, and have a great week. Late.